Yo, what's good, Spirit Squad? Today we're going to be playing a bit of Pioneer Mono Blue Spirits in a preliminary 4-round event. The idea here is that if we get all 4 wins, we get 40 qualification points for a much bigger tournament. And seeing as each of those costs 40 points to enter, we're hoping to basically just call it a one and done deal. You can, of course, get a smaller number of points if you go 2-2 or 3-1, but that's not our goal today. Here, what I've done with this list is that I've taken Ascended Spirit completely out of the list. In its place, we've got a one-off copy of Combat Research to complement the 4 copies of Curious Obsession, and 3 copies of Nebelgast Herald in the main to complement the 4 copies of Shacklegeist that have already lived there. Everything else, though, is pretty much the same. We've got our very simple 22 land mana base, we've got 2 Slip Out the Backs, 2 Spell Pierces, 2 Lofty Denials, and 4 Geistlight Snares, and those are going to be your interactive spells. The sideboard has been a little bit more tuned towards the top of the metagame, and what we've done here is put in another 2 copies of Slip Out the Back into the sideboard so that we've got a full 4 copies in the 75. This is going to help out a lot against decks like Rakdos, Blue-White Control, and Is It Phoenix? We're still keeping the 3 copies of Leyline in the Void that I've been playing, because things like Is It Phoenix and Greasefang are relatively big deals, and you just don't really want to deal with any of that nonsense if you don't have to. We've got 2 copies of Reckoner Bankbuster, primarily for Rakdos midrange, but they are also good against the plethora of control decks that live in Pioneer right now. We've got all kinds of things going from blue-white control, and that's just your old standard fun police, blue-black control with Narset and Days Undoing, and we're seeing a lot of Fires of Invention decks come out, and those against us essentially function as control decks. So that's going to be what we're doing with this list. Let's get ready for our 4 rounds. I'll see y'all in round 1. All right, we got round 1 against a Jolly Goblin. That is a sweet username. I hope they're actually jolly. We've got 3 lands, 4 spells, including Spectrals and a Mausoleum and a Geistlight, so this is really good. If we end up drawing a CO or a Combat Research to complement our turn 1 play of Flash in these, then this game is going to get real wild real quick. Okay, so our opponent has taken a mulligan down to 6. We're just going to go ahead and play our land with the intent of casting our Spectral Sailor at end of turn. So let's see if we can find out what they're on. Green, Elf. Okay, so that could be Gruul Cars, that could be Nykthos, and obviously, yeah, look at us go. Never once didn't have it. Oath of Nissa. Okay, so we do know that we're playing against Nykthos Ramp, which is a pretty good matchup for us. So let's yield until end of turn. We're going to play our other Spectral Sailor and basically see what else they come up with during this turn cycle. If they go to play something like a Wolf Willow Haven, I'm not going to counter that. And I'm definitely not going to counter an Elvish Mystic if they just go Land Elf. Looks like Land Elf is what's going to happen. If they attack, they don't. Huh? Oh, whoops. I think I accidentally pressed the button where it skipped through the turn instead of going until end step, so that's unfortunate. I didn't get to play my Spectral Sailor. Well, that sucks. Which means our plan does change a little bit here. What I'm going to do now, after I draw a card and see what we draw, is most likely play my Mausoleum Wanderer and pass so that I can still have the interaction of Spectral Sailor plus Geistlight Snare up. But that does feel bad. We drew a Rattle Chains, okay. So we have 2 Rattle Chains now, and keep it real, I don't particularly care about the Rattle Chains as Rattle Chains, but I do care about them as flash threats in this matchup, which is nice to have. Also, if my opponent decides to attack with these 2 Elves for some odd reason, maybe they just don't have anything else to do, I will happily flash in Spectral Sailor and block with a 2/2 Wanderer. Okay, so they're going to play Kiora. Kiora, without a Nykthos, I legitimately don't know that I care that much currently, so I would much rather use my Geistlight Snare on something like a Cavalier of Thorns or a Storm to Festival or Karn Liberated, or whatever 4-mana Karn is called. So I'm actually going to let Kiora slide. She can untap a land, and I think I'm actually okay with that for like 1 turn cycle. Okay, so they did have the Nykthos, so now they can make 4 mana with Nykthos, and there is, in fact, the Karn. So Karn, I definitely do not want to resolve, so we're going to do that, and then I can put in Spectral Sailor end of turn here, like I actually meant to do the first time, right? So let's go ahead and untap and see what we come up with. Another island, not exactly what the doctor ordered, but let's get our first attack in here, and attack their face. I'm basically never taking this down to 0 loyalty, so we're just gonna draw a card and see what happens. Another Geistlight Snare is great. So here they can make a total of 4, 5, 6 mana. Untap Nykthos, and that gets you to what, 10? No, 8. It gets them to 8. I can count, I swear. A cool little thing that we have here is if they don't produce another land, then what we can do is if they cast Storm to Festival for 6, I can put in Rattle Chains, and Rattle Chains make Mausoleum Wanderer a 3/3, and then use the 3/3 to counter Storm to Festival since they will only have access to 2 additional mana. So if that ends up being what happens right now, then that is an option that we at least kind of have covered. Oh, they thought they were in their main phase. Okay, there's the untapped Nykthos. So now you can use 2 of that, go down to 2, make 4 more, go up to 6, tap the elves and go up to 8. And that's what we were talking about earlier with the Cavalier of Thorns. Okay, and unfortunately Cavalier is going to resolve because I only have access to being able to counter up to 3. So I can do a couple of things here. I can draw a card and simply try to draw either a... Oh, card titles are hard, y'all. I can try to draw a copy of Shacklegeist or Nebelgast Herald to simply tap this and not worry about it. I can play this and tap them out, which I don't think is great. I think I have to let this slide, which kind of sucks if I'm being honest. But as soon as I see a tapper, then the Cavalier is kind of a non-entity, but I don't have one currently. And they find a basic 4, so they have 3 more mana to play with. 4 more? Oh, they had 1 floating, right. 4 more mana. Oath of Nissa can resolve. Can't do anything about that. And they just find Atlanta Werewolves, which that's just gonna happen. You got it. What is this white bordered nonsense? Oh man. All right, we got one of those opponents who's like just out to trigger us at all times apparently. So I think it's still right to just draw a card with Spectral Sailor and aim for one of my 7 tappers rather than playing my double Rattle Chains and trying to aggro them out that way. We got another Rattle Chains. Not fantastic if I'm being honest. So I am going to attack with this because I don't want to lose my Curious Obsession on here. But I will admit that this is not a great scenario anymore. But we've got 7 tappers in the deck, so I just want to draw 1 so that we can resume our aggro plan here. But I guess in retrospect, yeah, maybe this should have countered a Cura. Honestly, I think I'm really just complaining of 2020 hindsight, right? Like, if the Geistlight Snare, for example, had been a Lofty Denial instead, then we're kind of in the clear, and that simply isn't what happened, so I'm just another Cavalier. Yikes. So I do have a neat option here. I can't do anything about this, but what I can do is use Geistlight Snare to tap them out of the 3 mana they have, and with the 1 card in their hand, untapping Nykthos doesn't do anything, so I actually do think I'm supposed to do this and tap them out. That stops them from being able to also play the Storm to Festival this turn. Again, not great. Oh, they just have 8. Oh my god, I'm bad. Alright. So now I'm just looking for a Nebelgast Herald. Spectral Sailor is not helpful. And they do find another Nykthos too? Yikes. Alright. Let's see what the Storm to Festival finds before... Oh, they just have a 3rd Cavalier? Alright. Fine. I will lose to the 3rd Cavalier. You got me. So here I want these, and I kind of want these. I don't particularly want these. There we go. Alright, let's go ahead and try again, y'all. So yeah, retrospect. It looks like I should have countered that specific Kiora, but I think most of the time, if I'm presented with another Kiora in a similar scenario, I do think that I would just choose to get got by the sandbagged Nykthos the second time too. Can't really, call the decision wrong because it's just results-oriented thinking. It ended up just not working out, and even with the mulligan, they still found 3 copies of the 1 card that does matter against us, so it is what it is. Right, let's try again. We are on the play with... Wow. Okay, well, we take these. So basically the name of the game is try to not flub this one like we did the last time. Got it. And here I actually do have a couple of real choices, right? Like what I can do is Spectral Sailor on 1, and then Shacklegeist on turn 2, tap down their turn 1 elf, and untap Curious Obsession holding up Geistlight Snare on turn 3, because they don't really make any meaningful turn 2 plays. Heart's Desire I do not care about. So since they didn't actually play in elf or anything I legitimately care about here, I think I am just going to CO and just get ahead and draw cards. And we drew a Nebelgast Herald, which is actually pretty good. But this is exactly what we were looking for last time with all of those Cavaliers. Like, this would have been insanely good against all of those Reach creatures. But this time it looks like we're just kind of fighting down, you know, their try to beat me on the ground plan, which doesn't necessarily work super well against Nebelgast Herald and Rattlechains. So I'm hoping to see good things out of this next turn sequence or two, preferably a couple of land drops. Wolf Willow Haven. I'm actually going to counter that. So if they played the Nykthos as their turn 2 land, it's fairly likely they don't have a better land to play, and Wolf Willow Haven letting them develop green when they currently can't cast any double green pips or anything, I think that's where I want to be. If we can make them play as little magic as possible, perfect. Didn't draw land there, but I do have the the Rattlechains that I can use to grant all of my creatures flash. So that's going to feel pretty good if that ends up working out. Another Geistlight Snare is also pretty good, but I do still want to make like 1 or 2 more land drops here. Okay, so they did have a third land, which means they could cast Lovestruck Beast. But here, do I learn from last time with no green pips on the table, or do I just let this slide? I think I just let this slide. So they could untap this and make an elf, but I think this is going to be the turn where I'm still just supposed to play Rattlechains and call it a day. Oath of Nissa, that's fine. So without any true mana accelerants, I think we're not looking super terrible here. They do have a Cavalier of Thorns, so I'm not blocking that. That's fine. But I am going to put in my flash threat here, and let's try to untap and draw lands, please. That's almost as good. Not going to worry about Kiora. Let's just try to get them dead, and we find a land. Perfect. So now that we found a land, I know that I have the choice between being able to develop Nebelgast Herald or being able to Geistlight Snare twice. And I can also just Shacklegeist plus Geistlight Snare. So I've got a lot of options available with my 3 mana, whereas 2 mana, I would have felt pretty screwed. Okay, and they are going to play the the Lovestruck Beast. Do I care about Lovestruck Beast? I should use my spells while I have access to them. If I let them get out of hand with drawing cards, making land drops, and then generating the green pips, I might end up like living to regret that, you know? So here, if they play an elf, I'll just be all right with that. They can attack me for 1 and that's kind of whatever. And I can develop Shacklegeist while still keeping up my ability to hold up Geistlight Snare for the Cavalier. Faceless Haven's actually a pretty good draw too. So I'm not going to get to kill the Kiora here, but I will be able to take her down to 1, and I do think that's worth my time. Nah. I'll just put them on a 2-turn clock. I'm not going to worry about Kiora because they're going from 12 to 6, and now they have to do a lot to get out of this, really, is what I'm getting at here. So if they want to resolve a Cavalier, they've got to go through my Geistlight Snare. I could, in theory, have tapped the Elvish Mystic with Nebelgast Herald and then Geistlight Snared, but I think that's worse than letting them resolve it and then tap it, maybe. Let's see what happens. So for now, yeah, this only transmutes 3 mana into 3 mana, so there's not really much benefit they get out of doing that, and I will very happily just counter this. So now we get to go to game 3, and we're going to just submit the exact same list. And I am presented with a real choice to make here. So I can... No, this hand just sucks. What am I doing? So the Witness Protection does help against a turn 1 mana elf, and it stops them from being able to accelerate into their plays, but without additional land drops, what am I doing? So slowing them down at the expense of me not playing Magic is not really a plan. Here, this is something that much more resembles a plan, and I'll put back one of these. So what I can do here is, actually this is really nice for me. If they play an elf here, I can Witness Protection it, turn it off. The following turn, I can Mausoleum Wanderer, and since this is an enchantment, that means this is already turned on. So I'm gonna do this now, and if they want to simply attack instead of, you know, being able to make mana, obviously I'm okay with that. Okay, so I take this, that's kind of whatever, and next turn now they can make 4 mana, and I'll be pretty happy to open up with this, Geistlight Snare whatever their play is, and then untap, and then I'll have CO plus Geistlight Snare. So all in all, that'll feel pretty good. Sneaky enchantments. Okay, so here they're just going to play an Old Growth Troll, and that is important for Nykthos. I actually think I am supposed to counter this. Yeah, I'm going to counter this. So if I don't counter it and their next land drop is a Nykthos, then they get to go absolutely ham on me for a bit. And I'd rather not have that, since next turn I plan on using CO plus Geistlight Snare anyway, and that can counter land drop plus Cavalier. If I draw a land, I will also have the upside of being able to keep up Rattlechains. but I do think that I'm pretty okay with the way these couple of turns have developed. I'm not going to block this, and it's a Shacklegeist. Okay. So Shacklegeist will become important later, but not currently. Here, I just want to draw a land. We don't, but another Geistlight Snare is good. So I still want to make a land drop here so that I can Rattle Chains or Shacklegeist plus Counterspell. Currently, I can only Counterspell plus attack, which is still not bad, but it's not where I want to be. Okay, so there's a Nykthos, so that would have gone not very well for me. There's a Kiora, and since you only have 2 mana to play with, I actually am going to counter that. Yeah, just Kiora by herself untapping Nykthos with only 2 green or 3 green pips in play is not that big of a deal, but one way they can get out of this mess is by just drawing 4-power creatures and putting them in play like the Old Growth Trolls. So if that ends up being good enough to let them participate, I would rather they just didn't have the ability to do that. And that's not a land, but I will be fairly happy with another Wanderer, if for nothing else but like a clock. It's not a great clock, but it's a clock. And you, I will save for a resolved Cavalier of Thorns. Like I could have witnessed Protection to Mystic instead of playing the Wanderer, but I legitimately think that's just like a worse option here. And I will in fact be countering that. All right, so I'm going to take my 1, go to 14, and let's draw. Oh man, opponent's going to be so mad. Oh, I don't feel bad. They drew 3 Cavaliers in game 1. Hey, there's the land we were looking for. Perfect. So now I can Rattle Chains plus Geistlight Snare, and that feels pretty decent, especially if they tap out with a land drop for casting a whatever the 6-drop is called. Stop it. We're gonna have a very unhappy opponent soon. All right, so this attack's gonna be whatever. I'm gonna go down to 13. End of turn, we can put Shacklegeist into play. Oh, whoops, Rattle Chains, not Shacklegeist. So now let's untap here, and a Combat Research is gonna feel pretty good on the Rattle Chains. I'm not gonna put it on Mausoleum Wanderer because I might want to use these Wanderers to counter things like Storm the Festival, but also just in case of random shenanigans like, I don't know, Skylasher or some BS. I'd rather diversify my bonds anyway. Like if you get the reference. All right, so we drew another land, which is kind of perfect, and I think I'm actually going to use the protection here since I have Shacklegeist already. Let's see if that manages to take them off of a good mana threshold here. So if they don't have a land and they do have another Cavalier, that cuts them off from being able to cast it. It also stops them from being able to cast a Sky Sovereign with no land. It stops them from being able to cast obviously the Cavalier. Yeah, I think that was just a good decision all around. Okay, so there's a Kiora. I can't do anything about Kiora, and if I'm being completely honest, I don't know that I really want to anyway. So they can untap Nykthos and transmute mana, I guess, for some reason. They could. I'm not going to do anything about this. We're just going to go ahead and put lethal on the table. And with the Rattle Chains coming into play, that means that we will have 8 power. Whatever I tap doesn't matter. I only want the extra power and toughness. And Kerpow. Match 1 is done. Alright, we are on the draw for match number 2. We've got 3 lands, 4 spells. Our opponent has revealed a Yorion, and a hand with Geistlight Snare, Lofty Denial, 1-drop is definitely a hand that I'm willing to keep against really any of the Yorion decks in this format, so let's see where this goes. And Irrigated Farmland, so we're probably playing against a variant of blue-white control that's looking to, you know, do the Yorion thing, so I'm looking for things like Omen of the Seas and things of that nature, but I'm still going to make them censor this if they have it. No? Just up and resolves? No fuss, no muss? All right. So here I'm going to simply play the Supreme Phantom. Nothing they play on turn 3 outside of Temporary Lockdown or Narset typically matter. No, so I should just attack. Let's just attack. So here, I'm just going to go ahead and get my attack in, and then the next turn, I can play Faceless Haven and Mausoleum Wanderer holding up Lofty to kind of stress them out maybe. That's fine? Question mark? What are they doing turn 3 if I Lofty this? I think the answer is actually nothing. Like, they could Narset in theory, but if they Narset, take her down to 3, I can untap Supreme Phantom, attack Narset down to 1 so they can only ever draw 1 card off of it, and then kind of go from there. But if they're going to play a tap land, then I guess I'm alright with that. So now I'm going to give them another project to kind of stress about, and that's going to be this Faceless Haven. So we can play the Mausoleum Wanderer, hold up Geistlight Snare, get my attack in, and since they did not leave the mana untapped, that means I'm not looking at a Shark Typhoon token this turn. And really the biggest problem from here looks like it's going to be a Supreme Verdict for these two. There's a Shark Typhoon, okay. I'm pretty happy to not have that actually making a token. And there's the Narset that we mentioned earlier. So I am going to go ahead and counter this. I would rather just not deal with Narset if at all possible. And from here, I can start attacking with Baseless Haven and go from there. So if this stops her from finding something like, say, a Supreme Verdict, then I'm clearly really happy about that. I'm not going to not take my damage there, and I don't feel like walking these two creatures into a copy of Supreme Verdict, so I'm kind of content to just get my attack for 6 in, make them deal with the same two problems, and then maybe I can present more problems next turn. I also have the ability to draw with the Spectral Sailor, unless that was in fact a verdict. Okay, that's fine. So here, what do I want to do? I think I'm just going to attack for 4, take them down to 8, post-combat, play Supreme Phantom. Yeah, let's do that. So this way, I have a threat on the table that needs to be addressed with a real removal spell. The land is still there, and I can protect this with something like Mausoleum or Rattle Chains if they end up like not killing this. But let's see what actually happens first. That's a Teferi. That's actually not that bad since I have Rattle Chains. Rogran Triumph. Does that mean that I'm looking at... What does Rogran Triumph do for you? Whatever. I'm over it. So let's go ahead and do this, and I'm going to attempt to attack your face with this and Teferi with this and clear out Teferi. If now they want to use a removal spell here, I have the Rattle Chains. Yeah, so that's not happening. Now Teferi's cleared out. I have 2 threats on the table. If they want to deal with everything, they still have to, I guess, use another Supreme Verdict here. They can also use a temporary lockdown if they're playing that, but it looks like that's not going to end up being the case. Okay, so what do I want to do here? I can fire this up. They cannot activate you yet without 1 more land. And if I fire this up and they go to Shark Typhoon, I still have exactly 3 mana with which I can Nebelgast Herald. So let's try for lethal and make this their problem. Okay, so there's the Shark. Here's where our opponent gets to cry a little bit. And we have 1 dead opponent. All right, get blooped. So now against blue-white, I want the other 2 slip out the backs. I want the Reckoner Bankbusters, and there's some Mystical Disputes over here somewhere. There they are. I don't really want this, these, or these. Don't get me wrong, Shacklegeist is not bad by any means, but Nebelgast Herald being instant speed is so much better, and generally the only targets for the Shacklegeist are going to be the things like Shark Typhoon tokens. Sometimes they will put in things like Lyra or Baneslayer Angel, but counter spells plus Nebelgast Herald are generally enough to deal with those anyway. And this hand is, yeah, let's do this. Let's do exactly this every time, please and thank you. So assuming this doesn't die, or get Mystical Disputed, I'm gonna be pretty happy with getting to do the thing. And oh, they didn't. Okay, sick. I was gonna say if they did have the Mystical Dispute, then whatever, so be it, but I was gonna make them have it. They can remove this now. Okay, so since we are just gonna be doing it like this, I'm going to see if they want to do something with this next turn. So now I want to make them use a little bit of mana so that I can Geistlight Snare maybe. If they have, say, Narset, for example, then I can untap and do this even better. Omen of the Sea I don't really care about. I mean, I will care if they get to Yori in it, but for now I'm okay. But I think waiting 1 turn gives me the option to maybe profitably use something like a draw step that contains a Rattle Chains or something similar, you know. And them having 2 mana untapped rather than 1 is, or rather than 3, is actually a really big deal for this turn. And there's a dispute. So now I can CO here. If they dispute, I can dispute back, still having Geistlight Snare. And if they use a removal spell that costs 2, let's fight. Do you have a second one? Hell yeah, no second one. Perfect. So now let's attack. Let's get a card drawn. And if they Supreme Verdict, I'm going to be able to use my slip out the back. And we drew another dispute. Woo, let's go. Magic the Gathering. I am still worried about exactly a temporary lockdown. Okay. I'm going to use the Geistlight Snare. So if they have another dispute, then yeah, sure, you got me. Sick. And a Faceless Haven is kind of an excellent draw. So I'm going to Supreme Phantom here, plus 2 damage on this, take them down to 13, and I'm still going to have Slip Out the Back plus Geistlight Snare or Dispute in case I want to rescue my Mausoleum Wanderer from something bad. So all in all, pretty happy about where this turn sequence goes. 5 mana. Let's see what 5 mana does for you. Baneslayer Angel. Hey, we talked about that. So we're definitely just not going to let that resolve. So now we get to untap here, and a Spell Pierce is a pretty good draw. So I'm going to attack for, what, 9? Yeah, take them down to 4, and then make them stress out about the Faceless Haven again. I get to draw a card, and let's see if it's... okay, not bad for next turn, actually. Not what I want right now, but it's not bad for next turn. So now they're at 4, and they got to solve both these and this, and they can't. So it looks like an easy peasy 2-0. Let's move on to the next round. All right, welcome to round 3. We are on the draw, but I've got Mausoleum Wanderer into a bunch of good 2-drops, so I will keep this. And yeah, I think I'm just okay with this so far. Like, I would, of course, prefer to see 1 or 2 more lands plus a protective spell of some sort, but is Lotus? Oh, well, now the Mausoleum Wanderer is going to look great. So really, my job here is just to race and not die, and that Geistlight Snare is going to help very much with the second part of that equation. So here, if my opponent plays a Sylvan Scrying, I do believe I will counter it, like that. And if it turns out they have the Lotus Field next turn anyway, then whatever, you got me. That is a great draw. So here I want to start with Shacklegeist. And the reason I'm starting with Shacklegeist rather than a Supreme Phantom here is because they could play an Arboreal Grazer. If I'm going to be putting this on this, an Arboreal Grazer can just block the Supreme Phantom just fine, but it can't block a Shacklegeist. So that's why we're going with that. And, real choices. I'm going to try to draw a land. Let's CO here, get my attack in, and try to draw an island so that I can use my Geistlight Snare. And we did. Perfect. So now I can Geistlight Snare, like a Pour Over the Pages or something like that. And if they instead just pass and plan on copying here, then that's already whatever. I can't do anything about that, and I can just put in my Spectral Sailor and at least resume my attacks. So they are going to get to start doing stuff next turn, which I'm clearly not a fan of. But if I can draw like another counterspell or something else similarly useful, I'll be pretty happy for that. They go to 13, I draw a card, hopefully it's another counterspell. It is, and that makes me extremely happy. So now the name of the game is really try to survive 2 turns. Hidden Strings, I can't do anything about that. They have exactly the 4 mana, so I'm not going to be able to do anything there. They can untap up to 10, and there's an Emergent Ultimatum, so I'll use a Lofty Denial on that. Definitely can't have that resolve. I am going to be a little sad here because of the fact that I don't have access to a flash threat now, but I'll think, oh man, yikes. So if they just copy this and make 9 mana, I can't do anything about that. And that is going to be exactly what happens here. Okay. A flash threat would have been perfect there. Since I'm not going to have one of those, what do I want to do? I think I'm just going to put in a Supreme Phantom, make them take 6 and put them on a 2-turn clock, holding up Geistlight Snare and Slip Out the Back. Slip Out the Back specifically for Lier. And that is not another counterspell, but I will somewhat happily take the land. And as long as we don't die here, then we have won, but not dying is going to be a challenge. Otawara, so we've got 10 mana to play with. Are you just casting Omniscience? Shoo! All right, sick. Well, that's game 1. And yeah, as we see, that matchup can get pretty scary, not gonna lie. So I do want the disputes, and I kind of want Aether Gusts, but not really. So let's see what I want to start taking out before deciding whether we actually want those or not. And I actually think I want the Aether Gusts. Yeah, I like this. So they do have the ability to side into things like Path of Peril, Brotherhood's End, or any of the sweepers. And the red sweepers are specifically where a thing like Aether Gust is going to shine. It also helps to get rid of things just like, this is fine. This helps against Emergent Ultimatum, which is really nice, the Aether Gust does. But also any of the red sweepers, if they're playing things like 6-drop Niv Mizzet, Aether Gust can get rid of that for a turn. So it actually does have kind of a lot of jobs, but I am currently not the happiest about a lack of an early creature in all of these lands. Ugh, another one. So here they can just put in the Lotus Field and I'm still... Oh, okay. Come on, deck. You're killing me. All right. So now I just want to resolve my Nebelgast Herald. So I'm hoping for exactly one more turn of them doing close to nothing. And if that is what ends up happening, I'll be happy to put CO on this and go from, oh my Lanta, it just went. I guess I'm gonna do this. I don't know what my opponent kept, but I think they should have mulliganed. All right. Well, I'm gonna draw my card. Yet another island. Man, something tells me I think I have more lands than the Lotus Field deck. All right. So that's good news and bad news. The bad news part is that, of course, if they are holding on to 6 spells, shit can get really dicey. So I've got to work on killing them a little faster. And Supreme Phantom actually will kind of go a long way towards that. So now we're doing 5 damage a turn instead of 3, which is a whole turn different for purposes of them being at 14. So if the clock is going to be a lot shorter as a result of that, I'm pretty happy about that. Wow, another turn of nothing. I am so curious as to what the hell my opponent kept. I still don't want 9 lands though. That's a yikes. What's this? We are Otawara. I mean, not a fan, can't do anything about it. Okay. So now I have another island in play, and here I can put in the Nebelgast Herald and still respond with one of these 3 spells, which is nice. There's the Lotus Field. So goodbye Besajuan Island. And they didn't float mana, so I assume they're doing nothing else here either. And that looks to be the case. Okay, another Lofty's pretty good. I am medium salty about this Curious Obsession being gone, and not only for purposes of not drawing cards, them being at 9 instead of 8 right now actually did buy them a whole nother turn unless I draw a threat exactly next turn. So that actually did them probably a lot more good than they think it did. Well, let's see what actually happens here. Okay, so we're casting Hidden Strings, targeting the Lotus Field and the Botanical Sanctum. You can have that. I've got enough counter spells to not really want to deal with the Hidden Strings. Instead, I just want to deal with their payoffs. Supreme Verdict. Okay. I guess that was a reason to get rid of that. And an Impulse. You can have Impulse. So I still want to find another threat. They've got a lot of time now since I'm just not drawing creatures. So we're in unfortunate times here. They go from 5 to 6 mana. And let's draw a threat. You know what? That counts. I will take that. I still don't want to have 10 lands on the table, but if one of them's a Faceless Haven, I suppose I'll shut up. 6 mana, or over the pages. Absolutely not a problem. Yeah, I don't have a flyer, so I gotta do it like this. Okay, looks like nothing else is happening there, so let's untap. And there's a flyer, perfect. So now I actually do have uses for my my Lofty Denials, and they're going to 5, so Rattle Chains plus Faceless Haven is exact lethal as well. Well, not exact, it's 1 over. But they're not going to live next turn if they don't kill me now, is the point. Okay, so we're casting Impulse. I will do nothing about that. And Impulse is going to take them down to 4 total mana for right now. But, of course, that number can get absolutely brazy in a second. And we are going to cast Hidden Strings. So now that I've got the Rattle Chains and my Lofty Denials do something, I am willing to fight over this. Okay, so now that it's got Hexproof, I'm going to now cast my Lofty. These decks don't really play much spot removal, but I wanted to wait until the Hexproof resolved. Okay, let's counter the Hidden Strings again and see if they have another Mystical Dispute. Perfect. So they can still make a land drop, right? They can make a land drop. Oh, sick, they don't have it, so we've just won the match. So it looks like we're going to go from here to a nice little 3-0, and let's see what happens in this next round. GG's to our opponent. Okay, last round, we're on the draw, and this hand is fine. Better with a 1-drop, best with a 3rd land, and preferably an island. But Overgrown Farmland? Fuck me, are we playing against angels? Oh, I hope not, I think so. Oops, let's not do that, let's not do that. Let's not do that. It's a Bishop of Wings. Okay, so we are playing against angels, and now my job is really difficult. So I can play Curious Obsession. No, I think I'm actually just supposed to play Shacklegeist here. So playing Shacklegeist, what it does is it lets them go ahead and untap and cast some kind of angel. If they do, then I can tap down the angel, untap, put CO on something, and start attacking from there. Preferably Shacklegeist if the creature they play is named Resplendent Angel. But it's a Skyclave, so we're not going to get to do any of that. Instead, they try to take this over. Oh, what am I doing? Wrong one. I'm just going to tap this, deny them the 1 point of attack. And then still, I want to try to draw into another land here. And we do. So I think I'm still supposed to hold up for exactly 1 more turn here. And I want to give myself the chance to do what? I can Nebelgast Herald if they just play something that I can tap. If they hold up mana for Coco, I'm already holding a Spell Pierce. And I think I will just Rattle Chains end of turn if they don't do anything else, since I can still Spell Pierce the Coco. Giada, can't do much about her. You got it. So they're going to get a bunch of life. This matchup is super difficult. All right, so I'm going to just take this 3. Oh, no, we're just... Okay, that's actually really good for me. So now I'm going to be able to tap the Giada, deny them the flying blocker, untap, and a land is very good. So let's do this. And now I've got Spell Pierce plus Rattle Chains. I think I hold this up in case I draw Shacklegeist. Okay. And now I have Rattle Chains that can tap a blocker. I've got Spell Pierce that can counterspell either Kayla's, whatever her spell is called, or Collecting Company. But with Nykthos, that's going to be a little difficult, right? Like they can make, this 3 can turn into 2, 4, 5. So they have 7 total. Yikes. So I can't counter a Coco at all, is what we're getting at here. Unfortunate. So you can attack with, not that, okay. Yeah, that's whatever, you got it. So I take 3, go to 17. And what happens in main phase 2? Oh, thank fuck they got greedy. So I'm actually going to get to use my Spell Pierce. Nice. And I'm also going to play Rattle Chains, tap Giada, and I get to just kind of resume the attack. That's especially nice since I have access to this lovely Supreme Phantom too. And now it's instant speed. So I don't believe I should attack with the Nebelgast here. I'm sorry, with the Faceless Haven, in case I do end up drawing into a copy of a counterspell. I don't want to take down a counterspell. That's good too. Okay. So now what? They can resolve another Kayla's Reconstruction or a Coco into 2 angels, but as long as they're not named like Resplendent or Righteous Valkyrie. Inspiring Overseer's annoying, but okay. So you get your 5 life, you get to draw a card. I complain about that, which to be fair, I will definitely be complaining about that. They can add 1,000,000 mana with the Nykthos. Fuck me, they had the Resplendent Angel. Okay. Well, this is gonna suck. How do we get out of this mess? I think the actual answer is that we don't, but oh my god, it's a 7/7. Yeah, let's just move on to the next game. I'm not winning that. So now what? Against angels, I've got these, and I have these. Cards that I don't particularly want include the Spell Pierces, the 1-of Combat Research. I guess I don't need all 4 of these. I can play with 3, because I like all of my creatures. So let's just do that. But now we get to be on the play, which is a lot better against angels. But truth told, this matchup is an absolute train wreck. Okay, so this time I get to play first, which is a huge difference in this matchup, and yikes. Okay, this is clearly a lot better. So if I have to have any 3 cards, these are the 3 cards I want to have. So what I'm really hoping to have happen here is almost anything but a portable hole on my turn 1 Mausoleum Wanderer. So as long as we're not stuck facing that down, I think we're mostly okay. Oh, come on. Don't do it. Don't do it. Thank God. Oh, I was fully prepared to be really mad. So now let's go ahead, attack, and then get to work on unmulliganing. And a Spectral Sailor is actually kind of good. So I'm not exactly the happiest about Spectral Sailor versus, say, like a Bishop of Wings, but I will be glad to worry about most other problems later. So I will let the Bishop resolve, untap, and hope to get my hands on an Angel instead. So let's go ahead and attack with just this, because depending on what we draw / what they play, I might want to simply use this here Shacklegeist instead. Oh, you know what? If I had that, never mind. Let's just see what they play. Oh, we're doing nothing? I mean, that, yeah, whatever, I'll take that. So I go to 19 here, and they're doing nothing. I get punished? I guess the answer is technically yes, so I'm just not going to play anything. And here I'll just attack. I Ganjo. That was the punish. Okay. Yeah, I can't do anything about it. I can only make this a 3/3. All right, you got me. So take 3, go to 13, and play this. I can hold up the ability to either double counterspell or draw a card with Spectral Sailor. So now they have Coco mana, except they're going to play a creature instead. So I am going to counter this. Yeah, I'm going to counter that. So I take this, I go to 18, and then I'm going to just put this in play, and hopefully this next counterspell can kind of help carry the day. Slip Out the Back's actually not bad. So if they want to go ahead and say Skyclave Apparition me, the Slip Out the Back's going to look pretty good. So I'm really hoping my opponent just decides to tap mana for a Skyclave here. But that looks like a K-list for 2. It is a K-list for 2. So I'm going to do that. And they're at 9, so I'm not going to use my Slip Out the Back here. Instead, I'm just going to untap and see what I can draw here. So they go to 5, but the good thing about this here is them going to 5 specifically means that my Spectral Sailor can be lethal if this next turn is not that effective. So if they go to play just like a Skyclave Apparition to get rid of my Shacklegeist, that's pretty much the ideal scenario here. But looks like that's not what's going to happen. Fuck, it's a Coco. I can't do anything about a Coco, unfortunately. I have a Slip Out the Back. Fuck. If this finds 2 angels, I'm just dead. Alright. But if one of them's like just a Giada? Okay. So you're saying there's a chance. Alright, so I take this and I'm going to draw a card with the Spectral Sailor. And let's just see what happens here. Like, we kind of need a small miracle at this point, but I'm going to give myself a chance to draw something. And if this is a 2-mana removal spell for Shacklegeist, then yeah, I'm just going to be super sad about that. A Witness Protection. That actually is a good draw. So I can Witness Protection this, deny them the life gain. Playing a Spectral Sailor allows me to... I'm not attacking through that, I think. And I don't think I'm supposed to Witness Protection it either. I think I'm supposed to wait and give myself a chance to draw into a Supreme Phantom exactly next turn. I could also use these two, tap this, attack for 3, but then they're only going to 6, and that's still not lethal. So yeah, I think I will instead give myself the chance to tap 2 creatures, knowing that I have Slip Out the Back here. And I definitely do not want to trade my Shacklegeist for their Giada. That's just not happening. So let's start with tapping you now so that they just can't use this mana for an angel spell. And of course, she's got Vigilance, so like denying her the attack is also just nice on principle anyway. Beseiju the Witness Protection. Okay, so I get an island, which I don't want. I want to deny them to 4 life, but a Youthful Valkyrie is coming into play. So, oh wait, they're empty-handed. So I can Slip Out the Back the Bishop of Wings, deny them the life gain, tap the Valkyrie, untap, try to draw a Lord. Let's do that. Supreme Phantom, Rattle Chains. Damn, so close. So things I can do. I can Witness Protection, taps or turns off the Youthful Valkyrie. Giada's a 2/2, which is manageable. I can attack with 3 of these and hold up the combination of Rattle Chains for like a Skyclave effect or a draw card. Okay, it's not pretty, but we can do this. And please just draw like a land one time. Okay, so if you want to just attack me for 6, that's whatever. You can attack me for 6 all day. Well, not all day, but you can attack me for 6 this turn. So don't be like a Resplendent Angel. Come on, bruh. Give me a break. All right, double Skyclave, please. Skyclave plus Bishop of Wings. Oh no, fuck, that's a Righteous Valkyrie. Fuck me. Never mind. Oh, that's so bad. Man, we can never catch a break. All right, well, damn it, and the Supreme Phantom was there too. Aw. Okay, so what can I do about this? They're at 17. I can tap down the Righteous Valkyrie, attack with Shacklegeist. If they block, then I can flash in Supreme Phantom. That takes care of the Giada, and I have 2 creatures to use with the Shacklegeist still. All right, so we're not going to try to block, so they go to 15. Sure thing. And they currently only have 2 flyers, so in theory, this is a game that we can... Fuck, they're going to gain 4 more. Make that 19. Like, opponent, will you please find something to do that's not named, like, just getting rid of every resource I have ever? That'd be great, thanks. So I'm gonna tap down the Righteous Valkyrie here. They can attack me for 2, 4, 6, 7, which means I can draw a card here. Another island, okay. So I go down to 3, and Nebelgast Herald? Or we can draw an island. That's also a legal option I have the ability to pursue. Man, we are not doing it. So now what? I can let 2 of the 3 bishops hit as long as I deal with the rest of the attackers. Okay. Shacklegeist taps you with 2 Spectral Sailors. You come into play. I can tap you with this and this. So now they can't attack with Giada into a 3/3 that can block the flyer. And if they attack with these 3, I block here, take 2, go to 1. Okay. And if they no attack, then I just tap Giada and hope for another Supreme Phantom. Okay. Block, take 2, get ready to go to 1 and hope for almost anything other than Collected Company. All right. Let's tap down one of these and see what happens. That's not super helpful right now. But I do have 2 rattle chains. So in theory, I can actually still win combat this next turn. And if I do, then I can still untap and try for the best here. Okay. I will give myself a chance to fight. So how many attackers do they have? They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I can produce up to 8 blockers. That's a start. I do lose a creature to this, which is kind of obnoxious, right? 3, 5. Do I have an option to not lose a creature there? No. Okay, so I'm going to lose a creature to the Righteous Valkyrie. Got it. As long as it is not the Shacklegeist, I think I can deal with that. Okay. So now I'm going to put in the Wanderers, and I think I want to block the Righteous Valkyrie with 2 creatures I care about the least. So the big Mausoleum Wanderer or the Rattle Chains and 1 Spectral Sailor. Can I do that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, I cannot do that. So I just have to make okay blocks. So you block a 2/5. Creature I don't particularly care about can block here. I want to clear you out with a 3/3. You out with a 2/2. You out with a 2/2, you here, and you here. So we've made a bunch of legal blocks, and I am not losing either Mausoleum Wanderer. So Akela's Reconstruction is mostly solved. They do get no spirits. Perfect. Wow, that was difficult. Oh, my Lanta. Give me another Supreme Phantom. 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 is not 19. Damn it. I'm going to attack with, I guess, just you. And let's see what I can draw into. Whatever, deck. Your mother. All right. But barring a really bad, like, Kayla's Reconstruction thing, I think I'm okay. I can't do anything about Nykthos into a huge Reconstruction. Unless they tap, what did I have to tap? 10 mana to make Kayla's for X 7? But it's a Coco. So I can counter unless they pay up to 6, which doesn't do anything because it's just literally just Nykthos. So I think I have to let this resolve and just try to not let them attack this turn. God, this is not a good prospect because even 1 angel gains them like 40 million life. Yeah, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9 is what they have access to, so I can only make them pay an additional 6. So I'm really hoping for... At this point, I don't even know. Doesn't look great, but we're trying. Skyclave and a Resplendent Angel? Fuck. Alright, so Skyclave is probably going to aim for Shacklegeist, and it does. So I can deny a lot of combat here. So I think I need to start with that. I need to tap 4 friends of theirs. Okay. And they're going to gain 1, 2, 3, 4. So 16 going to 31. I think that's still technically doable if I end up seeing exactly another Supreme Phantom though. So let's Nebelgast Herald here. But now I got to worry about angels coming at the end of turn, and that's gonna gain fucking shit 16 more life when the angel token comes in. So it's really 47, and they can't attack with the bishops. Is it creatures or creatures get +2s? Fuck me. So I'm not even gonna get to deny all of the attacks either because they're gonna have what is it, 3 6s? So I guess I'm just doing this and blocking this bishop with rattle chains since I don't have anything with 4 toughness other than Shacklegeist that's going away. Realistically, I can't tell y'all I know why I'm still playing this game. I think I really should just accept my 3-1 fate here, but if there is a draw step that lets me get out of this, I will at least look for it. I don't know what that draw step looks like if I'm being honest, but I guess I'm gonna look for it. Sonata token comes in, 6 more life, 46, 48, worse, whatever. Blech. That's not helpful. All right. Is there a draw I have? Damn it, it was there. Okay, deck. Whatever, dude. All right, fine. I'm 3-1. You got it. All right. So our 4 rounds are over, and keep it real, can't even be that mad about that last round, right? Like Angels, we know that is a matchup that is close to impossible. We do have some outs, of course. Like as y'all saw, we fought the good fight, right? Like we tried our best with things like The Witness Protections, the Nebelgast Heralds helped a lot. Shacklegeist was kind of an all-star, but ultimately their deck lines up so well against ours that they just kind of do that to us sometimes. But you can't really complain too much, right? Because we faced against 3 matchups prior to Angels that we kind of stomped into the ground. So they simply did to us what we did to a lot of other people today. And I think that's an okay place to be in life. We went 3-1, which is not obviously the 4-0 we were looking for, but it's not bad. So we're going to come back with some prizes, some qualifier points, and I am happy about that. But that's going to be it for today's video. Great times all around. Thanks for watching the gameplay. And as always, if you like what you're watching, make sure to click like on the video. Let me know. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see y'all on the next one.